but AEW promised a big surprise for Wednesday. There was all kinds of hype, and it turned out to be Keith Lee, who had been let go by WWE. What's your take on Keith Lee?
I like him personally. I don't know, Mark, I used to be able to tell you because I was there more often. Um, I don't know. I guess I don't think they ever could figure out. My take is they could never figure out how what to do with his character. They came out of the gate strong with him, and I actually think they went back and forth a couple of times trying to work things out with him. I don't know what happened, but um, not taking anything away from Keith Lee, but a big surprise to me would have been Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, or even bigger than that. That's my feeling. They had a lot of hype all week long on Twitter, every avenue AEW uses,
Yeah,
and
but
it
here's
turned.
the deal. They got a hell of a rating. They got a hell of a rating Wednesday night.
Yeah, but the catch 22, Nate, could be, 1.1 plus million people turned on to see a big surprise. What if they didn't consider that to be a big surprise? And it
Well,
wasn't a great show.
no, I'm just saying to you, what if well, here wait, the point I'm making is Raw got a 1.3.
Right.
So the goal is to try and catch Raw, and assume is what Tony's goal is. So for whatever it clicked, and I hope for them that they can keep it going, and I hope for the wrestling fans that they see and look and try to understand how hard it is to get over in this business. It's incredible. I mean, it's going to take Keith years, as it does anybody, to get over. I felt Bray Wyatt was over. Some people didn't like his character. I personally did, because he can work aside from being the character that he's been.
Well, I like the original Bray Wyatt character a lot with the Wyatt family. I didn't like the Fiend. I thought that was too cartoony, and I thought it damaged pretty much anybody it came in contact with, except for Randy Orton, who, as we have discussed many times, is basically foolproof. But I agree, Bray Wyatt would have been a bigger surprise. But you talk about how it's going to take a lot of hard work and years for Keith Lee to truly get over, and that applies to everybody. But he's 37. If he's any good, how has he slipped through the cracks until he's 37?
I didn't realize he was 37. Well, it just makes the task even tougher, because in this day and age, you're judged every day by your age, your weight, your height, the number of people you've wrestled. Doesn't matter how good a football player was at Texas A&M. Now it's just how he's perceived by the audience. For
I,
me, for me personally, he's a respectable, nice kid.
I will say one thing I like about AEW bringing in Keith Lee is he's big. He's not your typical AEW guy. AEW has the mid-level guys. It's almost like a cruiserweight promotion in many respects, but he is a big guy, and he could move in WWE, but I got to tell you, he looked bigger, and not in a good way, than he was in WWE.
Yeah, well, I actually thought he was really good at NXT.
Right.
So, and then sometimes the difference between NXT and the big dance is just, it's the way it's orchestrated. But basically, you're handing yourself to the writers and to creative, and saying, "Here I am. I'm talented, but I know that I'm not gonna have to do things the way you want me to, unless I have a better idea."
Now, I will say his debut was impressive because they had him in there with Isaiah Cassidy from Private Party,
Yeah,
and later Mark Quinn got involved also from Private Party, and those guys bumped like $1,000,000 for it. I
exactly.
thought I thought they created all the movement in the match, but who cares as long as the job gets done?
Well, exactly, and they did it the right way with him. They let him beat some guys up, without doing him any damage. So that could be, not that I think you have to squash everybody, but that was a good start for him. He didn't need to be bumping around for guys half his size.
The only complaint I have is those two guys are AEW originals, and Keith Lee came in as a WWE reject. I don't use that term pejoratively, but that's what he is. He got fired, and he squashed him. I mean, I think AEW is getting further away from the original EEW all the time, and that's for better or for worse.
Well, Mark, are the 2 guys that he beat drawing money,
No,
or are they AEW originalists?
uh, well, you can be both. I don't think they're drawing money. No, I'm not sure Keith Lee is going to either. I'm just talking about my personal vision of the promotion when it started. What I liked most was it was a lot of guys who hadn't been on TV that I hadn't seen, and they're getting further away from that. Now they don't have to listen to me, and obviously they're not.
Nor do they have to listen to me either. You and I are getting paid to talk about what we think, and, because neither one of us are directly involved with either company. People need to understand. You look at social media and Ric Flair buries SmackDown star. Ric Flair gave his opinion. He didn't bury anybody. If you're not going to give your opinion, if you're not related to somebody, I mean, you give your opinion on everything we do in life. But in wrestling, he buries them. Wow. He's in, Becky's in his head. Come on. Jesus.
Well, well,
Read the headlines. Hey,
and part of
hey,
it,
can I tell you what? Our podcast, we talk intelligently about football.
but Cody Rhodes, when AEW started, said that they weren't going to sign every ex WWE guy that came down the pike. Aren't they kind of doing that lately?
I guess, Mark, you follow it closer than I do. I've just basically watched the show so I can report on it accurately and, give my thoughts and, you know, not to change the subject, but talking about AEW. So I'm watching the show and I thought, the kids from, Charlotte,
FDR.
FDR,
They were great. They're always great.
yeah, they gave those guys a hell of a match. That didn't mean that Punk and and, John, who I like very much, John especially, they can't work. I said they gave them a great match. They made them look great. That's
Right.
what you do. If you're good at what you do, you make other people look better.
And FTR better than that than anybody, I think.
Them and the Usos. I'll the Usos. I guess I'm going back to the fact they've had some great matches. I'll still remember those. If I remember them now, then they had to be good.
Now, AEW's main creative strategy seems to be new guys every week, surprise after surprise. Does that wear out at all? And I'm asking because I don't know. I mean, do people get numb to surprise when there's one every week?
Um, I don't know. As a fan, I want to see the guys I like every week. I don't want to see somebody new. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
on that show, I mean, obviously, Jericho's got a big fan base. Punk's got a big fan base. Sting's got a big fan base. I would keep those guys on TV on a pretty regular rotation, which they have been lately. F F F M MJF's got a big fan base. I mean, they have some really cool characters and some really good wrestlers on the show. So, I don't know, by booking it, I keep them all on, as opposed to, and maybe one new guy once a month. That would be my take on it.
Yeah, that's approximately my take as well. Now, they did have a cameo appearance by Jay White, Switchblade, who's a big player in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's the current leader of the Bullet Club faction. And with all due respect to Jay White, because I think he's a hell of a worker and a hell of a talent, I'm not sure how many people watching American TV know who he is.
I didn't, but that doesn't mean anything because I don't pay attention to the Japan stuff like I used to.
I think if you're going to debut a guy from Japan who has limited exposure here in the U.S., I think you got to have him in a match. I think you got to show what he is right away. I think there's too many people out there wondering, or maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's how you follow up. I don't know.
Well, they make that if the guy's got a great interview, let him talk for a couple of weeks. That's what gets you interested. A lot of guys can perform in the ring, but it's the build up that. This is still a very important part of our industry. Getting the people to want you to get in the ring and watch you.
Now, who's the biggest surprise debut you've ever seen in all your years of working? Who showed up that really popped the crowd and had impact right away and in the long term as well? Is there any
Off the top of my head, AJ Styles when he came out.
in WWE?
Yeah, he blew the roof off, which
What a,
gave which gave a lot of relevancy to all the other organizations he'd been with because he blew the roof off and he delivered more than delivered
What about Jericho back in '99? That was a pretty big pop as well.
at WWE.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't remember that well. I mean, back then I was involved in it, so I didn't pay that big attention to it. But yeah, I'm sure Chris got a big pop.
Yeah, he had the Y2J countdown clock. They did a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
job building it
Well,
up.
I remember all the stuff he did, but I don't remember his first night out. But I'm sure.
Ever. Now, as you mentioned, Raw did a 1-3, and as we said, AEW Dynamite had 1.1 million viewers. Uh, I'm not sure I see that as a rivalry or a goal. I would if they were on at the same time. But how come when Raw does a 1.3, it's a failure, and AEW has 1.1 million viewers, it's perceived as a success?
Because Raw is a huge, huge, huge 30 plus year every Monday night annual event that I bet I haven't missed 10 episodes. I love it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's just,
I mean, if you and I have loved Raw, I loved Raw when I was in WCW.
yeah. Oh, I've watched Raw since day one. I know you
Yeah,
have too.
I have too. I was on the first show. Remember, I put first show. Santana put me over. Second show, a Raw. I lost to Loser Leave Town to Kurt. I was on the first two episodes.
And then you left town, which, as we've discussed, is a
Loser had to leave town. That's what I was told by Ole Anderson. What good are you to me now? I said, I don't know. I'd been on the most popular TV show in the world while you've been down here getting a 0.6 rating.
now. And the only thing about AEW is, they went over a million, and as you said, that's a heck of a number. But to me, they need to establish consistency.
Mhm.
They need to get that number every week and then build on that. No, not go back down to 990,000 next time.
Mhm.
I mean, consistency is the key,
That's
right?
what I'm saying. I wish for them they could just keep it, and they have the talent to do it. It's just, how they're booked and what's going on. But I mean, I still, I watch it from a different club. Have a place I go to, but every they have no problem turning it on for me, and everybody that watches it with me loves it. So and some of them don't ever watch wrestling, but they end up watching it,